Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda, and this is Crocheting with King. If you've not been here before, what that means is I'm working on a blanket that I need to have ready for a wedding, and I decided that it would be fun to pair my crocheting with reading Stephen King. And so I'm reading through an extended Dark Tower series. So it's not just the first 7 books, there's a whole series, and I talk about it up here, so I'll link that video there. But the next book is The Wastelands, which is book number 3 of the actual Dark Tower series. So I have a weird, I don't know, it's weirdly small seeming this way. I don't know. That's a weird edition, I think. And I got it from Half Price Books, and I just flipped through it, and it had this in it from July the 12th. One of those some e-cards. It says, I love gossiping with you and then about you when you leave. So random. Anyway, so I am starting this book, and I'll show you where I am in my crochet blanket, what round I'm on, and we'll see where I'm at when we're finished. And I'll check in about halfway through this book and then check in again at the end. So I'll see you when I'm about halfway through the Wastelands. Here is where I am beginning. I am at the beginning of round 65 on my pattern. And this is what it looks like so far. So we will see as we read The Wastelands what it looks like when we're all done. I don't have a ton to update on the book or anything, but I'm about to be changing my yarn. I only have this much left before I start my next pound. This will be my 5th ball, which means I only have 1 ball left, and this is what it looks like so far. There are a couple of dogs underneath it, underneath the blanket. But this is how it looks, and I really like it. I just like so many things about it, but it looks a different color. Like it's a bluish gray, and this kind of looks like a silvery gray. It's more blue than this. But anyway, there's a dog, one of them. The other one's still under there. But this is, it's so much better than I thought it was going to be. So anyway, let me tell you what round I'm on right quick. And there are 111 rounds in this whole thing, but I don't have to do them all, of course. I can just do as many as I want. And I am on round 68. I mean, you can see all the instructions. That's not even all of it is continued up there on that side. So the rounds are kind of getting more complicated only because I have like one edge here and another little smaller one here, and then, another one here. So this is where I've just started this next row that I'm working on now. So anyway, I'm wanting these to lay out flatter than they are. So I'm hoping that once I get more rows done, that those will kind of lay down more, but I really like how it looks. So I'm excited to keep going. I am about halfway. I didn't look at it percentage wise, but I am at book 2. So I was talking about this earlier, like Stephen King just sets up like book 2, and then inside here you have part 4, and then inside here you have 4, and then you have 1. And then inside this part 4, you might have like 20 little sections. It's so funny the way his books are divided up. But anyway, I am about halfway through. I don't think I have any spoilery. I might have some spoilery things to say in just a few minutes, but right now let's just talk about this. If you are interested in this book and you have not read the first 2, then please at least go do that. You don't have to read the way I'm reading through this extended Dark Tower list, but if you've not read The Gunslinger and The Drawing of the Three, then don't do this one, because the Gunslinger ends at the exact same spot that The Drawing of the Three begins, and The Drawing of the Three ends, and this begins right there. So you will definitely get spoilers if you start here with this book. So if you've not read that, maybe fast forward to the next crocheting section if that's why you're here. And now I'm going to talk about spoilers. So I just got to the part where Jake came through the dirt door. Like, what in the world? So I read a book by Joe Hill. I'm not going to tell you which one it is because I feel like that might be a spoiler. But in that book, someone drew a door on the ground and they opened the door. Well, I hadn't read any Stephen King, and the guy in my book club said, oh, he took that straight from one of his dad's books. And I was like, what do you mean his dad? Okay, so that's when I found out that Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. So I had no idea, even though we were reading his book. But anyway, and I didn't know which Stephen King book that happened in. Well, now I do. It happens in this book. Also, I read It because that's part of the Dark Tower extended list. And I know why now, because it talks about, in here, it talks about the turtle that holds up the world. So I get the connection to It now. If you've not read It, that's definitely not a spoiler. But if you have read it, then you get it. And now I know what the connection is with this book. So I am so glad that Jake is back. Like, I was not expecting it at all. But when we switched to his point of view, I can't say that I was shocked by it. It just took me back to what I said about the drawing of the three. Like, how much prep does Stephen King do ahead of time? Like, did he know that he was going to bring Jake back? That continually pops into my head. Like, did he know that this is where things were going to go and how it was going to work? And I mean, I'm sure people have asked him that. Maybe I just need to listen to a bunch of interviews. With as many years as he's been writing books and doing interviews, there has to be somebody who's asked him this question. So maybe I just need to look that up. But I'm enjoying this. Like, it's just not just, I thought this was going to be Eddie and Susanna and Roland just going through the wasteland, like more journeys along the path. And now we've thrown Jake in here. And also, how weird that Jake was a boy the same time Eddie was a boy. And Eddie kind of led him to the house in the past that brought him to now Eddie as an adult. Like, the whole thing is so cool and like warpy. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what I think about it. I mean, other than it's just really cool how it all like ties together. So I don't know what's going to happen this last half, but I'm definitely going to find out. So I'm going to keep reading and crocheting, and I will check back in with you probably when I finish the book. Okay, this is the blanket so far at the end of the Wastelands. It is very ruffly on the edges right now, and that's just because I don't have a space right now where I can like lay it out and let it stretch. But I'm going to work on that because the next book is on hold at the library. So this is it so far. I just finished row 70 and I am on row 71 right now. Well, I'm moving right along to the Dark Tower. Book 3 in the actual Dark Tower series, book I don't know how many in my extended reading list, but I'm done. I finished. You saw last where my crocheting was at the end of this book, and so I'm slowly going on the crocheting, and I even had some issues this time where the instructions did not make a lot of sense to me, so I had to take quite a bit of time to figure out some things. So anyway, also this book is not small, so it's taken a while to read, but I am loving it. I liked this book. I did not like it as much as the drawing of the three, only because the drawing of the three was the whole like pulling all these little threads together that I think just blew me away, that Stephen King was able to just like bring everything in. And I just thought, I don't understand how he did this. And this book was more straightforward, like an adventure, like starting at one place, going to another place. And that's how this one kind of went. I mean, we did have some hiccups in the middle, and I felt like the pacing was really good in this. We were constantly doing something. There was even a part where we were kind of split up and 3 different groups were doing things, and we were following what each of of them were doing, we have introduced an amazing little character named Oi, and I love him so much. He's not going to beat out Tom Cullen from The Stand. However, Oi is right up there. We'll wait and see what happens with Oi throughout the rest of this, but as of right now, he's really high on my list of I love this thing that Stephen King has written. That's not an actual list, but whatever. I love Oi. That's all I'm saying. Now, since I can't really say anything without it being spoilery, we're going to get into the spoilery things. So if you've just here for the crochet, that's over with, and I will see you in the next video where I start crocheting again. If you're here for the Wastelands talk, let's talk about it. Number one, I know everybody was happy that Jake is back. Jake is alive, and he is back. And I had a feeling that something like this might happen. Not that he would come back. Like, I certainly didn't know any of that. However, when we saw him in the drawing of the three, like, not being pushed by the pusher, I was like, well, now Jake is alive. And then Roland started having, like, I know that I sacrificed Jake, but at the same time, I know that I saved Jake the second time. And so Jake didn't die, but Jake did die. And so his brain was like all over the place, which I thought was a very cool way of like writing all that out, what happened to what didn't happen and all of that. I thought that was very, very creative. Django enjoyed it as well. The other part that I wanted to talk about was Blaine, the pain, Blaine, the mono. And I just like the whole thing. I like the way he loves riddles. I like that they talked about riddles ahead of time. Jake has a book of riddles. Like, all of these things, it still just amazes me. Like, if I were writing this, I would have to have this huge outline where I'm like, okay, this person does this and this person goes here. And in book 7, this will go back to this. Like, I would just have to have this whole thing. And I don't think that Stephen King did. The reason that I don't think that he had this in mind, like this huge imaginary outline that I have, is because we get an author's note at the end of this book, just like we do in all of his, which I absolutely love. I love those author's notes. He says this. First of all, the ending, we can talk about that. I was not upset about the ending at all. Like, I realize I am in this for the long haul. So ending the book where it did, when it was just like, let the contest begin, boom, the end, was great. But what he says was that he knew that it was going to displease people, that it ended the way it has with so much unresolved. And he said, this is what makes me think this is not planned out. I'm just going to read this little first part of this paragraph. I'm not going to read it all to you. I am not terribly pleased to be leaving Roland and his companions in the not-so-tender care of Blaine the Mono myself. And although you are not obliged to believe me, I must nevertheless insist that I was as surprised by the conclusion to this 3rd volume as some of my readers may be. See? I don't think that he has a plan about the whole thing. I did love this part, though, because as a writer, there are times when I think, should I end this right here? Do I need to include more information? If I include more information, then I've got to tell like a whole other part of the story, or I could just end it right here. And this was what he said that I loved. He said all of these things, and then he said, all of which is simply a metaphorical way of saying that it was over again for a while, and my heart was wise enough to stop me from trying to push ahead anyway. See, that's what I mean. That's why he's a genius. He knew that he just needed to stop it right there, and so he did, and it was perfect. And I cannot wait till I read the next one, but that's not what's coming up next. We're not going straight into book 4 of The Dark Tower. We're going to be reading Needful Things up next. So I've already got it up there ready to go. I'm not starting it just yet because I need to rest for a minute. I need to let that crochet stuff sit for a bit so that I can get some distance from it because it's kind of making me angry. So I'm going to just rest from that. Maybe I'll start my next blanket and start reading Needful Things, but we'll see. I kind of want to finish one before I start the other one, and I just need a break from it for right now. So it's not going to mess you up. You're still going to get a video next month. I'm not going to take that long of a break, but I will be back to talk about Needful Things in my next Stephen King. I loved this one so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.